I was just sitting here thinking about the fire of life as it pertains to the trials that we go through in life. And, Ezekiel says that God is a refiner of fine gold, and that He refines us as fine gold and precious metals. And so I decided to look up what it meant, what a refiner does and how that process works. And the first part of the process, it tests the material to determine its exact gold content. And then the next one, they melt, and they melt the gold down, and chlorine gas is blown through the gold, and the gas reacts with the impurities, turns them into chlorides that float at the top for removal. So they melt the gold and they burn the impurities off. And it's very high temperature, but the gold inside can withstand it. And then you've got the wool wheel process that actually takes, where they place the gold in an electrolyte solution and use an electric current to dissolve the gold, and all that's left is pure gold. And, being an electrician, I understand the way that electricity runs through water. Water is not what's conductive. It's not conductive. It's the impurities in the water that's conductive. So when you use that electrolyte solution, the salt is what's, conductive, but the gold will not fry. As a matter of fact, gold is one of the best metals to use for electrical because it has such a low resistance rate, which means, your electricity's the highest that you can get through gold. Better than copper. It's just more expensive than copper, so that's why copper's the more common material used. And so it just makes me think about the process we go through as Christians when God refines us and uses a process similar to that to burn away the impurities. James says, "Count it all joy when I fall on diverse testing, because the testing of the faith produces endurance." And that endurance is what creates that fine gold in us. And so I also think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were being put into the furnace. And, we look at that story and we think, they were hanging out with Daniel. Their faith was, through the roof. They knew they were going to go in that furnace and everything was going to be fine. God was going to save them. But, in that story, they even said, even if our God does not save us, we will still praise Him and we will not bow down to your idol. And so it makes you wonder what that was like for them going in that furnace. I mean, you think about it, the king had them turn it up 4 times hotter, King Nebuchadnezzar, and they're walking into that furnace, and the soldiers that were with them were being burned alive right next to them. I mean, just think about that scene for a minute. Take a minute. Pause and reflect on that. You're walking into a furnace, and the people that are putting you in the furnace are dying. And they continued to walk in. And I mean, think about the amount of stress on them walking into that furnace where you're seeing people around you die, and you're like, God, I believe you're going to save me, but I don't know if you really are or not. And, the end of that story is Nebuchadnezzar sees the fourth man in the fire, which was Jesus, and calls them out, and they get out and they don't smell like smoke and everything else. But the remarkable part of that story is Jesus was not in the furnace until after they got in the furnace. They had to walk in there on their own because the people that were escorting them into the furnace died. They were burned alive. So they walked into that furnace on their own, and then Jesus was in there. And so I just want to encourage everyone watching this video that whatever you're going through, whatever fire that you're dealing with in life, press on, go through it. You're not alone. Jesus is in it with you, and he's going to show up at just the right time and help you get the rest of the way through it. And it's all for his glory anyway. It's all for God's glory anyway. And, it's encouraging to know that we don't have a God that's like King Nebuchadnezzar, that was watching them go into the furnace, that was watching them go into the fire. We have a God that's in the fire with us. And we don't have to go it alone. And we don't have to, try to make it on our own. We really don't have to stress over it. We do anyway, but we don't have to stress over it because God's got it. If God's got us walking through it, God's going to get us through it. And, I just wanted to encourage everybody and let you know that if you're going through the fire right now, remember that you've got the fire inside of you, and God is all around you, and God's going to get you through it. I promise.